député de Châteauguay-Saint-Constant.
Monsieur le Président, le jour du souvenir approche. Et il est important de prendre le temps qu'il faut dans les jours qui précèdent afin d'honorer ceux et celles qui ont servi et qui servent encore notre pays. Il est de mon devoir, cependant, afin d'honorer ces hommes et femmes, de demander des explications aux ministres, à savoir pourquoi certains militaires blessés sont libérés de l'armée avant d'être prêts à partir et pourquoi l'aide aux frais funéraires est tellement restreinte que moins de 30% du fonds a été dépensé.
Mr. Speaker, I thank the Parliamentary Budget Officer for highlighting how our government doubled the financial limits of the funeral and burial program. And, Mr. Speaker, we will continue to work with veterans groups to ensure the Canadian funeral and burial program remains one of the most generous of our allies, even though the party opposite has chosen to not support us in these particular enhancements to our veterans.
The honourable member for London Fanshawe.
That's just not good enough, Mr. Speaker. Months ago, the Minister of Defense stood in a Legion in my riding and promised Legion members that injured soldiers would no longer be cut loose. But the practice continues. 2 injured soldiers in my riding, Corporal David Hawkins and Corporal Andrew Knisley, are being pressured to leave the military just before qualifying for their pensions. This is callous, it's disgraceful. Will the Minister put an immediate halt to this practice and stand up for those soldiers?
The honourable Minister of National Defence.
Absolutely not the practice, Mr. Speaker. We stand behind those men and women who serve us in uniform, Mr. Speaker. We make sure that they get the physical, mental, occupational therapy services that they need for their eventual transition to civilian life, Mr. Speaker. Members are not released until they are prepared, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable member for St. John's East.
More weak excuses, but still no apologies for their treatment of these soldiers, Mr. Speaker. The Canadian Forces Ombudsman has revealed huge problems with the Joint Personnel Support Units, the people who are supposed to help wounded soldiers. He found that they're understaffed, that they lack experience, and that they can't properly assist soldiers. Conservatives are asking our soldiers to come home from fighting for their country only to have to fight with their own government to get the support that they need. What is this minister doing to immediately rectify this disgraceful situation?
The Honourable Minister of National Defence.
Mr. Speaker, there wouldn't be a Joint Personnel Support Unit without the support of this government, Mr. Speaker. This was opposed all the way through by the NDP, Mr. Speaker. Yes, it was, Mr. Speaker. If they are so interested, Mr. Speaker, in supporting veterans and supporting the men and women in uniform, Mr. Speaker, why don't they get on board with all the efforts that are made on this side of the House? That's not what they did now, and when they supported the Liberals who did nothing for the men and women in uniform. He should explain that.
Les conformateurs, c'est des grands parleurs, mais des petits faiseurs. Ils laissent carrément tomber les soldats canadiens blessés dans l'exercice de leurs fonctions. L'unité interarmée de soutien du personnel est le principal programme du gouvernement pour aider les membres blessés des forces canadiennes, mais l'Ombudsman a constaté des problèmes sérieux avec ce programme en ce qui a trait au manque de personnel et à la formation. Nos soldats méritent mieux. Le ministre faut-il mettre en œuvre immédiatement les recommandations de l'Ombudsman pour s'assurer que les soldats blessés reçoivent toute l'aide dont ils ont besoin? Bravo.
Again, Mr. Speaker, the Joint Personnel Support Unit didn't even exist, Mr. Speaker, before this government took office, Mr. Speaker. We have made it a priority, Mr. Speaker. That is something very, very different from when the Liberals were in office, cheered on and supported by the NDP, Mr. Speaker. I'm very proud of the fact that we have made this a priority, and we are going to continue to do so, Mr. Speaker.
The Honourable